Hey everybody, Matt here from Matt's Movies, Music and More, welcoming you to this week's movie review episode. The film I've decided to talk about today is a movie which came out in the 80s, an 80s comedy, and it's a movie which is kind of linked to another film that I've reviewed on my channel so far, so I will tell you about that as the movie goes on. So the film that I've picked to talk about today is the 1986 comedy My Chauffeur, which is directed by David Beaird, and it stars Deborah Foreman, Sam Jones and Howard Hesseman. Now, the movie is essentially about Casey Meadows, who is this young girl played by Deborah Foreman who works as a dishwasher in an upscale fancy restaurant, and one day she receives a job offer to work as a driver for Brentwood Limousine Services. Now, the manager, whose name is McBride, played by Howard Hesseman, he's kind of appalled at the way that Casey dresses and her attitude and stuff like that, because the fact that she's a woman as well is that all the chauffeur drivers are all old men and they all have an instant dislike to her just because she's a woman and stuff. And so she's learning sort of the trade of how to do it when she's never actually done this kind of job before, but she learns that not to take any shit from these people and stuff. And she does find some kindness in a particular driver who just sort of says to her, look, ignore what the guys say and just do the best you can. And then she's given constantly lots of really weird assignments. Like one of the jobs is that she's the chauffeur to some British punk rock star who's played by an American doing a really, really bad British accent. And she comes along and tells him, look, you've got to get on stage because you've got to go and do this show or whatever. And he's like, well, fuck the show, fuck the fans. I just want to go and stay in bed and stuff. And so that happens. And then eventually she's given a job to transport a guy called Battle Witherspoon, who is played by Sam Jones. And Sam Jones has just come out of a relationship, and he's become an alcoholic, and he's also a workaholic, and he's very arrogant and stuff. And straight away, he's kind of very rude towards Casey and stuff like that. And what happens is, because Battle starts drinking alcohol and stuff in the chauffeur limousine, he gets so drunk that he gets out of the limousine and decides to strip naked and run around in the field, running up to people, just randomly exposing himself. And it's really funny the way he's done it. And as the movie goes on, you see that there's a little bit of a romantic connection going on between Casey and Battle before the big red herring comes out, which I won't spoil for you. But regarding this movie, it's interesting because it's, I think, the first movie which has the acting debuts of famous Vegas magicians Penn and Teller. So if you're huge fans of Penn and Teller, this is one of the first movies they appear in, and they're really funny in their scenes. Now, I'll talk about My Chauffeur briefly, which is that I said about I'd already covered a movie on this channel, which is kind of linked to My Chauffeur, which is this film was distributed by a studio called Crown International Pictures. Now, Crown had released a movie in 1983 called My Tutor, which if you'll see on Matt's Movies, Music and More, I have already covered. And they brought out My Chauffeur as a way of attaching it to My Tutor, hence My Chauffeur, My Tutor. Now, the actors involved in this movie I think are really good. Deborah Foreman you'll probably know from Valley Girl, and she doesn't really do much acting nowadays, but I think she's very good in the role as Casey, very likeable. Sam Jones, I think he's brilliant. I'm a huge fan of Sam Jones from Flash Gordon, and obviously in Flash Gordon, what a lot of people probably don't know is that if you're people that don't really check out many of Sam Jones' movies, Flash Gordon, Sam Jones was dubbed, so it wasn't his real voice in the film, whereas in this movie, he isn't dubbed whatsoever. And in this, I think he's really good, and kind of think it's one of his more underrated movies. And Howard Hesseman, of course, I like as well. I think he's good in like Flight of the Navigator and Dr. Detroit, which hopefully are films that I will talk about in the near future. So, yeah, I suppose that's all I really want to say about My Chauffeur. So, what do you guys think of My Chauffeur? Have you seen it? Did you know of the movie at all, or have you big fans of the actors involved? Don't forget to check out all the other videos on our YouTube channel here. We've got at the Movies with Andrew. We've got What Did You Think? We've got other solo videos and more stuff coming in the near future. If you check the social media links, they're all in the description here for Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. You'll see all of the posts that I make for upcoming videos. So yeah, don't forget to check them all out, and thanks very much everybody for checking this video out. So all the very best to you.